Welcome to today's Explainer. I'm honestly so thrilled you're here with us because today we're unlocking what might just be the ultimate key to understanding human behavior. Have you ever wondered why we pick up certain habits, or why kids mirror their parents' exact mannerisms, or even how we can learn a totally complex skill just by watching someone else do it? Well, the answer lies in Albert Bandura's truly groundbreaking social learning theory. We're going to explore how we are constantly learning from the world around us, and more importantly, exactly how that invisible process actually works inside our minds. Here is our cognitive roadmap for today. Section 1, the Bobo doll experiment. Section 2, the bridge to cognition. Section 3, 4 mediational processes. Section 4, the power of self-efficacy. And Section 5, reciprocal determinism explained. Okay, let's dive into this. Section 1, the Bobo doll experiment, a shocking discovery. To really wrap our heads around Bandura's theory, we kind of have to travel back in time to 1961. Back then, the big question floating around was simply, why do we act the way we do? Do we just blindly copy everything we see? See, in the mid-20th century, the dominant view in psychology was strict behaviorism. Behaviorists essentially believed that we only learn through direct rewards and punishments. You know the drill. You do something good, you get a treat. You do something bad, you get a timeout. But Bandura looked at that and thought, that feels incomplete. He asked the big question, what about all the stuff we learn just by watching? Think of the traditional behaviorist model like looking at a black box. You have a stimulus and boom, an immediate response. It assumed our internal thoughts were completely irrelevant to the process. But the cognitive model introduces a really critical step, the mediational process. Bandura essentially popped the hood on the human mind to argue that, hey, we don't just react like robots. We take an input, we interpret it, we evaluate it, and only then do we produce an output. We actually evaluate before we react. To actually prove this, Bandura designed the famous Bobo doll experiment. Let's walk through the setup step by step. Step 1. He took 72 kids aged 3 to 6 right out of the Stanford University nursery school and divided them up. Step 2. He exposed them to different adult models. One group watched an adult absolutely wailing on an inflatable Bobo doll, hitting it with a mallet, tossing it in the air, and aggressively yelling at a piece of plastic. Another group watched an adult playing quietly, completely ignoring the doll. A third control group saw no adult model at all. Finally, Step 3. Each child was placed in a room with toys, including that exact same Bobo doll, and the researchers just sat back and observed what happened next. Now, what's really interesting about this is the findings were honestly a little chilling. These kids didn't just generally play rougher. No, these specifically imitated the exact aggressive behaviors they had just observed. They picked up the mallet, they used the same aggressive language. I mean, this was revolutionary. It proved once and for all that direct rewards and punishments aren't required for learning. Just the raw power of observational learning alone was enough to transmit complex, entirely new behaviors to these kids. Moving right along to Section 2, the bridge to cognition beyond the black box. So we're shifting gears from those highly visible actions in a playroom to the completely invisible workings of the human mind. Bandura's social learning theory actually became known as the bridge between traditional behaviorism and cognitive psychology. Why? Because learning requires both the environment and the mind. Think about it for a second. We see people do crazy, dangerous, or just flat-out silly things every single day, right? But we don't automatically imitate everything we observe. We are active information processors. There is an absolutely crucial internal pause between seeing an action and deciding to do it ourselves. Let's break that down in Section 3, 4 mediational processes, the mental checklist. So what exactly is going on during that internal pause? Well, before we ever imitate a behavior, these 4 exact gears have to turn in our heads. First up, attention. You have to actually focus on the model, and usually a high-status or highly relatable person grabs our attention the best. Second, retention. You have to remember it by forming a mental memory template. Third, motor reproduction. Do you actually have the physical or mental capability to do it? It's like a 90-year-old woman watching an Olympic ice skater on TV. She's got attention and retention down perfectly, but she won't be imitating those triple axels because, well, she lacks the motor reproduction. And finally, motivation. You must have the actual will to perform the action. Let's zoom in on that final step for a second. Motivation. Our motivation is heavily driven by vicarious reinforcement, which basically means what we watch happen to others. This can be external, like a student seeing a classmate getting praised by a teacher for asking a really good question. The observing student thinks, hey, I kind of want that praise too, and is motivated to speak up.
It can also be internal, like a feeling of pride. On the flip side, if we see someone get punished, we are negatively motivated not to copy them. Our willingness to act is just constantly shaped by witnessing the consequences that other people face.
Which brings us to Section 4, the power of self-efficacy, the inner engine.
Okay, so now we understand the mechanics, the literal gears of learning. But what is the fuel that actually makes the engine run? This brings us to what I think is one of Bandura's most profound contributions, self-efficacy. It's defined simply as an individual's belief in their ability to succeed in specific situations or accomplish a task. Basically, it's your inner confidence, and here's why it's a total game changer. You could observe a behavior, pay attention to it, remember it perfectly, have the physical ability to do it, and even see a massive reward waiting for you at the end. But if you don't actually believe you can pull it off, you will literally never even try. So the crucial point is understanding where this vital self-belief actually comes from. Bandura pinpointed 4 distinct sources. First, mastery experiences. Honestly, nothing builds confidence like past success. Second, vicarious experiences or social modeling. Seeing someone similar to you succeed makes you think, well, hey, if they can do it, so can I. Third, social persuasion. This is that genuine verbal encouragement you get from someone you trust, like a favorite teacher or mentor. And fourth, your physiological and emotional states, meaning managing your stress and anxiety so you actually feel calm and capable rather than totally overwhelmed. If you want to learn a new skill, you really have to nurture these 4 sources to keep your inner engine running strong.
And that leads us to our final stop, Section 5, Reciprocal Determinism Explained, the Big Picture.
All right, we've looked at the experiment, the mental processes, and the inner engine of self-belief. Now let's zoom way out to look at how we interact with the entire world around us. It all really boils down to this classic psychological question. Are we shaped by our environment, or do we shape our environment? It's kind of the ultimate chicken or egg debate in understanding human nature, right?
And Bandura's answer to this is beautifully simple, yet incredibly complex in practice. His answer is both. We are simultaneously products and producers of our environment. Causation in human behavior just isn't a one-way street. It's a highly dynamic, continuous interaction.
Bandura called this dynamic interaction the triadic feedback loop. Imagine you've got a student who has really strong self-efficacy. That's a personal factor. Because of this strong belief in themselves, they boldly speak up in class. That's a behavioral choice. The teacher and classmates praise this really insightful comment. That's the environmental response. And then that supportive environment feeds right back into the student's personal factors, boosting their self-efficacy even higher, which leads to even more confident behavior down the road. It's a continuous loop. Personal, environmental, and behavioral factors are just constantly pushing and pulling on each other, continuously shaping who we are and the world around us. Which leaves us with this final, really vital thought. According to Bandura's theory, we are always learning from the models around us, and our environment is constantly reacting back to our behaviors. So take a look at your own life for a second. Who are you observing today? Whose behaviors are you quietly paying attention to, retaining, and maybe even imitating? And perhaps a lot more importantly, who is observing you? Thank you so much for joining me in this explainer. Keep learning, keep questioning, and I will see you next time.